In the Band of Brothers series, William Evans is portrayed by British actor Simon Pegg. For Pegg, this was one of his earliest appearances in a major American production, before Shaun of the Dead made him famous worldwide. Many fans were surprised to spot him in Band of Brothers. To my knowledge, Pegg has not spoken openly about his role in the series or about William Evans. Though Evans doesn't survive past the early episodes, Pegg's presence adds to the authenticity of Easy Company's training days and highlights the tension between Sobel and his men. Very little has ever been documented about Sergeant William S. Evans, even though he spent nearly 2 years serving as First Sergeant of Easy Company, 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment. Not much is known about William Evans, with Stephen Ambrose only giving him a passing mention in Band of Brothers. A likely reason is Evans' close association with Captain Herbert Sobel, a man many veterans distrusted and disliked. Because of this connection, Richard Winters and others offered Ambrose little material about Evans, leaving him a shadowy figure in Easy Company's story. One of the few anecdotes that survived about him comes from Camp McCall. Evans and Sobel once attempted to pull a prank of sorts by stealing rifles from their own men while they slept. The plan went sideways, and instead of targeting Easy Company, they mistakenly gathered up weapons from nearby F Company. As Sobel and Evans berated the supposedly careless soldiers, the commander of F Company and about 40 of his men showed up demanding the return of their rifles. The blunder left Sobel and Evans humiliated in front of both companies. William Evans himself had been born on July 21, 1910, in San Antonio, Texas. He attended St. Thomas High School in Houston before enrolling at Texas A&M University, where he studied petroleum production engineering. By the time America entered the Second World War, Evans was working as an accountant at the Todd Houston Shipbuilding Corporation. His job could have kept him exempt from military service, yet Evans chose to enlist, hoping to spare his brothers, both family men with children, from the draft. He volunteered for the paratroopers and was eventually assigned to Easy Company. After completing parachute training at Fort Benning, Evans was promoted to Company First Sergeant. His alliance with Sobel made him unpopular among much of the enlisted corps, though he never joined the non-commissioned officer mutiny that ultimately led to Sobel's reassignment. He was aware of the meeting organized by Sergeants Mike Ranney and Terrence Harris but chose not to involve himself. In HBO's Band of Brothers, Evans is depicted as Sobel's sidekick, often shown as foolish or blindly loyal. That portrayal has some basis in truth. Evans did, for instance, deliver to Winters the infamous typed letter that gave him the choice between punishment or court-martial over the latrine incident. He was also very likely standing by Sobel's side during George Luz's impersonation of Major Horton in the fence-cutting incident, which veterans confirm really occurred. Surviving testimonies paint a mixed picture of him. Shifty Powers remembered him as broadly unpopular. Yet there were exceptions. Leo Boyle considered him a close enough friend to serve as best man at his wedding in Aldbourne. Gordon Carson also recalled Evans fondly as one of his pals. Donald Malarkey, however, offered the harshest assessment. Malarkey believed Evans not only encouraged Sobel's harshness but at times surpassed it himself. Malarkey recounted one particular episode from April 1944. He had developed a severe sinus infection, likely caused by England's damp and bitterly cold weather. After repeated trips to sickbay with little improvement, doctors gave him only aspirin. He decided to head into London in search of better care. He convinced his buddy Tom Burgess to join him on the trip. On the train ride, Malarkey's ears began to ache unbearably, worse even than the childhood ear problems he'd once suffered. Once in London, he asked their cab driver to rush him to the nearest army medical facility. There, a female doctor, rare for the time, took one look at him and ordered Burgess out of the room. With a temperature over 105 degrees, Malarkey was in serious danger. She prescribed strong medicine and large doses of penicillin, warning him there must be no distractions during his recovery. That night, Malarkey awoke to find blood draining from his nose and ears, soaking his pillow. By the following morning, he was sent to the U.S. Army's 1st General Hospital at St. Albans, 20 miles from London. Before being transferred, he entrusted Burgess with his money belt containing over £100 and asked him to notify Evans and the Easy Company officers of his situation. Doctors at St. Albans informed Malarkey he was lucky to have made it in time. Any delay, and the infection might have spread to his brain. He was given around-the-clock penicillin treatments, 250,000 units every 2 hours, and slowly began to recover. His physician warned him that with his medical history, he had no business jumping out of airplanes and offered to have him reassigned. Horrified at the thought of leaving the paratroopers, Malarkey pleaded to remain. Eventually, after passing a final test, the doctor allowed him to return to duty. But when Malarkey rejoined Easy Company, things did not go smoothly. Someone remarked that many thought he had gone AWOL, and he immediately knew trouble awaited him. Sure enough, when he reported to company headquarters, First Sergeant Evans looked up from his desk and snapped, "Where the hell have you been, soldier?" Even after Malarkey handed him discharge papers from the hospital, Evans tossed them aside, accusing him of lying. Despite Burgess's confirmation, Evans continued to insist that Malarkey had deserted. The confrontation escalated until First Lieutenant Thomas Meehan, Sobel's replacement, stormed out of his office and ordered Evans inside for a dressing down. When Evans returned, his bluster was gone, and he dismissed Malarkey without further word. Malarkey's temper flared nonetheless, and on his way out, he hurled a crude joke Evans's way that perfectly captured his frustration with the man. On D-Day, June 6, 1944, Sergeant Evans boarded the ill-fated Styx 66 aircraft alongside Lieutenant Meehan and Easy Company's headquarters section. The plane was struck by German flak and crashed in a field near Buzzaville, Plain, killing everyone on board. In his absence, Staff Sergeant James Punchy Deal temporarily stepped in as acting first sergeant. After Deal's battlefield commission, Captain Richard Winters promoted Carwood Lipton to the role permanently. Decades later, Evans's dog Tag was recovered by a French farmer near the crash site, a small reminder of the man whose reputation among Easy Company remains complicated. Buried today at Jefferson Barracks National Cemetery, William S. Evans is remembered by some as Sobel's loyal ally, by others as an unnecessary tormentor, and by a few as a genuine friend. His story, largely overlooked, is nonetheless part of Easy Company's history and the broader legacy of the 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment. How did you feel about Sergeant William Evans' portrayal by Simon Pegg and Band of Brothers? Please share your thoughts in a comment below.